Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this episode of The Elouise Show. This is episode 14, and we are going to be delving into who is the real BoDee and how he makes it in Nola. So, just so you know, BoDee is what happens when Drake's feelings meets Kanye's ego in a Popeyes parking lot. So it's pretty much a beautiful chaos. He's unique, supremely talented, and wise beyond his years. Qualities often displayed in an aggressive but articulate tone, laced with savvy wordplay and intricate storytelling that could rival some of Mark Twain's best work. We're talking storytelling, guys. However, the Memphis born New Orleans raised versatilian has a musical soft side. You know what I'm saying? He can sing. And not in the sense of overly auto tuned babble you would hear on the radio. He has a voice that is something to behold. It's something of substance, it's confident, and but what resonates the most is realness. BoDee is unapologetically real, which you will see on today's episode. In a world where very few rap or sing so honestly from their heart and soul, BoDee does just that in just the right ways, combining art, story, and song in perfect unison. BoDee, welcome to the Eloise Show.
Hey, it's good to be here.
How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm fantastic.
Talk to me. How's the day going? How's quarantine been treating you?
Quarantine has been nice. Um, I've been able to focus a lot better. I've been able to really just kind of see things potential, and I don't know, man. It just allowed me to be more consistent, adventurous, creative,
Isn't it
busy.
is, isn't it crazy how quarantine has been like great for artists? It's like a lot of people were able to get into their bag, into their creative bag, and like really just like get shit done. All these ideas that sometimes we're too busy to get to, like,
Right,
check them out.
right.
Time
I
now.
w- I will say it was definitely beneficial to the independent artists. Um, I can't really speak so much for the label artists simply because people have a lot of big budgets that went into a lot of planning with marketing, banking on venues being open.
Mhm.
But because independent artists, we kind of thrive, in the social space.
Yeah,
I think it's more beneficial to us because we kind of have our own rules. We usually have smaller budgets, so we're not taking bigger risk. We can actually take smarter risk.
that's
Um, so yeah.
that's exactly it. So, okay, so I, introduced you and really spoke about you as an artist, as a rapper and
Right.
singer. But one thing that I didn't mention is that you're also a business owner. So, what I
Yes.
really like is for you to talk to me a little bit about your organization, TMG Lifestyle.
All right. So first off, TMG is actually like a three-letter like acronym for Trueforia Music Group. Um,
Say that again.
Trueforia Music Group. It's a combination of truth and euphoric.
Mhm.
It's about being happy with who you are, being happy with your truth, um, being real with yourself, having realistic expectations for yourself. I mean, we all dream big, what I mean? But you know, there's a science that comes to dreaming big, because a lot of times, some of the biggest dreams become a reality. And it's because they tackle that dream from a realistic perspective. It's like you keep your dreams with your attack plan in perspective. Like I can really make this happen, and to some people things will sound impossible when you come up with it. Um, but when it comes into fruition, people kind of like start to say like, oh, I remember when he came up with that. So it's like I wanted to build an organization that was about that. I mean, the primary thing is music. However, we do all forms of entertainment, content creation, comedy, fashion. So it's like it's a lifestyle. TMG also means the main goal. What's your purpose for what you're doing? Like have a purpose, attack that purpose, and it's a lifestyle to accomplish goals. And that's what I want to make fun. I want to make accomplishing goals fun. And you be with your friends and you're like, I have a goal at the end of this 6 months period. I want to make $50,000 with my business. And then it's like, we all kind of like challenge each other with that. It's dope. I mean, it's motivating. So,
So
you
True
know
Fork Music Group and what is your main goal?
true
The main
Truephoria Music Group, and the main goal is connecting the world
through
back back to realness through media and entertainment.
through media, sorry, through media and entertainment. Okay, cool.
Yes.
'Cause I've seen so the cool thing about you, so okay, fun fact for anyone who's listening, right? Once upon a time in 2017, I go to New Orleans with one of my closest friends, Kiana. And I go down there with a ton of outfits, my camera, and my mic equipment. And I'm like, we're gonna meet some musicians and we're gonna interview them. This is back when I was doing L's in the evening, L's
Hmm.
what was that?
L's on the go.
L's on the move.
Yeah, L's on the move.
So I go into this beautiful art gallery across the street from this famous cafe. What was the name of that again?
Cafe Du Monde.
Cafe Du Monde. So right across the street from Cafe Du Monde, there's this.
Oh, it's actually like right next to it. It's like, it's right next to Cafe Du Monde.
It wasn't across the street.
Well, there's like no, they're like right next to each other.
Okay.
It's like they're on the same side of the street, but it's like right next to each other.
Okay. Well, that's what happens
Yeah.
when you drink and Nola people. So
Yeah, because it's kind of funny because it kind of goes off into like a little drop off, so
that's
it's
right.
it's
That's right.
weird.
That's
Yeah.
exactly it. That's exactly it. So I go into this beautiful art gallery. We're just roaming the streets of Nola. We go into this beautiful art gallery, and there's like this Pac painting that I've become enamored with, which we actually did our interview in front of. And we're walking around, and the owner, was it the owner who came up to me? No, it was Casme. Casme?
Hmm.
She comes up to me. Shout out to Casme. And she's actually a really, really dope singer, performer, just all around personality, beautiful spirit. And we get to talking about what I'm doing and the fact that I want to interview artists. And right, she introduced me to
She
you.
introduced us. Yes.
And so we set up a time. I got to interview BoDee. If you got a chance, check out the interview. But
Yep.
the fun thing that I learned about BoDee when we were out there is that not only do you produce most of your music, you obviously write your own lyrics, but then
Hmm.
also you're producing a lot of your music videos because you've created, like, you found a way to, like, get it done yourself. And
Yeah.
and the quality is amazing, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've been watching.
Thank you.
I've been watching. So
Yeah, that's my series. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
how does that transition over into like what you're doing with with your entertainment company, with your
Okay.
between like managing artists and creating content? How has
Okay. So
self-production transition? Sorry.
no, no, no. Well, the cool thing about the whole self-production thing is because that kind of goes back to, the motto of, the Truephoria Music Group, the TMG lifestyle, the main goal. I wanted to be able to be the one person resource. So that way, my success wouldn't be determined by somebody else's actions. Like I wanted, my to be in control of what I wanted to do. So, I want to what did you say?
No, continue.
Oh, no, and I wanted to inspire that with the artists that I work with. I mean, I do have artists that I do work with. Sincere the Truth, he's an R&B singer that I work with. Um, he actually has a weekly visual release. He does Sincerely Your Sunday. So I have My Flow Monday, he has Sincerely Your Sunday. But this thing came from Toby Nwigwe. I'm pretty sure you heard of him. The Nigerian rapper from Houston. He's like, he has the song called Try Jesus or whatever. But I've been supporting him for quite some time. I met him a few times. Like, we have a really, really dope connection. And he had this whole Get Twisted Sunday series where every week he's, releasing music. So, for me, seeing that as an artist, a lot of times we get caught up in this idea of waiting until things are like perfect, like perfectly lined up. Like, oh yeah, I want to wait until, I get this budget and and I can buy this and then I can have this piece of equipment. But talking to him and really listening to him and seeing how he kind of went from, man, let me just use what I have around me. And then it kind of slowly built into now he's putting on almost like Beyonce level productions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's still 100% independent, which is like super, super dope. So, seeing that. And then the cool thing about it, he promotes Black love and family, and we got to see his wife, see him get married and see his wife go through being pregnant and go through her pregnancy while they're on tour. And I mean, it was just, the whole thing is just like dope. So, when he came to New Orleans, his last, trip before COVID, it was like December. I got an opportunity to have dinner with him, and we, sat down with the whole crew before his show the next day. And, we sat across from each other and we got to really like vibe. And, one of the questions I asked him, as far as, going forward, when did he know, like when it clicked to just say, what, I need to hit the ground running and do what I'm doing. And he was like, he just had people around him that just flat out told him like, as the old people would say, you need to either squat or get off the pot. You know what I mean? So he was just like, man, I'm just gonna do this.
That
You
is
know
a
what I mean?
thing if I ever heard one.
Yes.
So no. Okay, so basically, which is what you're saying is really really important. Using the resources that you have available to you to get where you need to go right now is like something that like all the great people really talk about. Like one of my favorite people right now in media is Issa Rae, and she
Hmm.
talked about how she was always networking at her level as opposed to networking up. And just utilizing whatever her or anyone in her network had to like make her stuff happen. So,
Right.
so boom. So you're teaching that to the artists that you work with. You use that mindset while creating content for TMG Lifestyle. But I really want to know, like, how did we go from TMG Lifestyle to a partnership with Tweedle?
Okay. So, all right. So there's this grand scheme with the way I market myself, because my main goal is to be a mogul. Like, the music is kind of like the door opener. It's a passion. It's something that I really, really love. I love the connection that I have with people, through music. I like when people approach me and say, yo, I heard, you know, this song that you did, or I heard that freestyle, or I watched that video. Like, dude, like you really be saying something. Like, dude, you really be talking yo, I'm gonna keep it clean. But it's like, you really be talking you know what I'm saying? And that's inspiring to know that people can connect, in that way. Because I do have my moments where I get aggressive, and I kind of have like this no filter approach. But it's all from a place of love and compassion. And then I have like this part of me that's like the softer side, like, well, I'm gonna keep it pretty and laced with pretty words and all of that stuff too. But I just sometimes I just be in my swag. I just kind of go with the moment. But the way it all translate is that the grand scheme of my story is to show people every aspect of what makes me BoDee. You know what I mean? It's like I want people to see, BoDee the marketer, because I try to, post content that shows, my step by step when it comes to marketing my music, or doing social media ads, or running, showing progress from things where I've started, setting goals and putting those goals as statuses. Like, look, my video just hit 10,000, views and 4,000 shares. Like, all right, my next goal is 20,000 views and 10,000 shares. You know what I mean? And I'm showing people this in real time because, we're surrounded by so many different like stories and myths of how to be successful. And I just want to show that, I can simply succeed by example. And that's like my, another one of my sayings, succeed by example. And I just wanted to show people like, it's no one way to success. And here's how I'm using, multiple ways to be successful, and like building with people along the way. From the film side of what I do, I mean, I do film production. So, people have companies and businesses and things that they need visuals for. So, I'm like super, super affordable. In some cases, if it's like an even trade value, we'll do like a barter system. Um, but the opportunity is like, okay, this is something else I can add in my portfolio. Because I have people that I've worked with when they first got started that went off to be millionaires. You know what I mean? And they'll still reach out to me and be like, yo, man, thank you for so much for a lot of the stuff that you kind of told me when I was building this, and helping me with my visuals in the beginning and helping me with my commercials, and just kind of put me on game with social media. And a lot of this I was just doing because I simply want to see, our people win. You know what I mean? And if I can have something to do for that, that's just something else I can like put on my resume. Like, yeah, I had something to do with that. You know what I mean? But it's cool. And I want to I want to inspire that in the people that I work with. Like, I want to build bosses. You know what I mean? Not employees. You feel me?
So basically, just you being yourself in the plight of who you are in your content creation across all different mediums, like just you kind of building this resume of work, this body of work, and having like all these different references based on people that you've like helped out. That's kind of what helped position you for this partnership with Tweedo.
Yes. I went to a Revolt conference back in 2017. It was like right after you and I had the interview. I had went to Miami, and it was like a Diddy was involved with it. It was like the big Revolt conference. Well, at that conference I met Tony Abrahams. He was the CFO for Combs Enterprises. So he handled all of Diddy's like business ventures, and he was the money man. He was the finance guy. So at that time, Tweedle was a dream, and he was there. He had like his crew of like young interns. They had like the Tweedle t-shirts on. He had the Nine Dope on the back, and the singer Tebby Burrows, Songland. She won the first season of Songland. Her and I had kind of become like conference buddies. So like every day of the conference, like we linked up, we had breakfast together, we went to the same panels, we went to all of the little meetings and private parties and stuff. Well, we had got introduced to Tony through one of her friends from the Bahamas. And Tony was just telling us about Tweedle. He was like, "Yeah, man, it's his new social music platform. It's American Idol meets Tinder. You can discover music. People can discover your music, and they'll get the swipe nah or dope, determining whether they like it. You know what I mean? Just here, make sure you sign up, submit your email, and get signed up. And when we start to build out the app, we're going to send you updated information on how you can get your music uploaded and get into the system." So, initially I'm thinking in the mindset of, this is SoundCloud before it first started. This is Spotify. This is Apple Music. And I mean, and I'm also looking at it at the fact, like, I'm looking at Diddy's like CFO, you know what I mean? And so many artists were like just kind of walking and milling about because they were trying to like find their favorite rapper or favorite like A&R to like rap for them. But I'm like trying to talk to the people that are sitting behind the desk and they handle the money. Yeah.
Trying to talk to the bag man.
Right. So, you know, and it was just a really dope conversation. I mean, his idea of it um immediately caught me because he has this thing like, I want to shake up the music industry. So he actually left Combs Enterprises to start this company. And what really made him want to get me involved outside of just being an artist, we were on Diddy's yacht. He had like a yacht party, and we were just kind of up there drinking, and Two Chains was performing. I mean, it was just cool. Like, I felt like I was in like a little star circle for a second. And we were sitting up there and we're drinking brown liquor and talking, and our eyes are all closed and stuff. And he's like, "Yeah, man, I got some crazy ideas for Tweedle." And I was like, "Yo, man, I want to be involved for real. Like, I want to be like the face, the brand ambassador, like whatever you need me to do. Like, I do graphic, I do film, I can do my own commercials, I do music. Like, I'm really like laying it on him." And he was like, "Well, if you're serious about working with me, like, give me your cell phone number and I'll be in contact with you." And I was like, "All right, cool." So I get back home. I want to say like maybe a month and a half, 2 months go by. And then I get a call from him, and he was like, "Hey, man, you know who this is?" And I was like, "No." He was like, "Yeah, this Tony. You remember me? You met me in Miami." I was like, "Oh yeah, this like the Tweedle guy, right?" He was like, "Yeah, man, look." He said, "I'm gonna send you an email out in a minute. We're getting ready to launch the beta. It's getting ready to be in the Android and Apple stores. You can download it and check it out. And I'll pay you $50 to test it out for me." I was like, "All right, cool." So, we all got to download the app, and, I put my song on there, and I got to test out some of the, like, skeleton features. And I was like, you know what? I kind of like this. I started, really seeing how I was going, and telling people about it. Like, yo, you need to try out this little app. You know what I mean? Little did I know it was going to start slowly developing into, him bringing me in to be on some of the think tank meetings and come up with ideas. And then it turned into, yo, man, I want to make you a partner. You know what I mean? And I want to give you like equity in the company. And I want to, so I was like, hell yeah. Now I'm like, so now I'm like over like marketing, and I'm the idea guy, and I'm a co-host for the live stream. I mean, I'm literally like his right hand man. So, and it all just started from, being that artist that was just willing to be in the right places at the right time, talking to the right people.
Yeah. So I think that's super super duper fire. How's Tweeto's growth been over the past what 3.5 years? It's about to be 4 years soon.
Well, we're still in baby stages, but we have a little over 3,000 artists on the platform.
So,
Um, we are currently doing a bi-weekly live stream.
mhm,
We've and what we've been doing at is like artists can that are on the app or joining the app, they can like register one of their songs. All of this stuff is like 100% free, but they register one of their songs or multiple songs
mhm,
into this live stream registration portal, and it goes into like a discovery timeline, a random discovery timeline. So when we go live, you'll see the discovery feed pops up on the side of the screen, and he hits a shuffle button. Tony, hold on, excuse me. I thought I was about to like start coughing. But he hits a shuffle button and a random
Wash your hands.
right? He hits a random, a random song comes up. So when the song plays, it plays for like 30 seconds. And, people that are tuning in, they can like select now a dope like on their device that they're watching from. And we usually have a special guest. So it's myself, Tony. We have Barry Boo, who's a Grammy nominated award winning, Grammy nominated like singer, songwriter. And we'll have a special celebrity guest. I mean, we've had Taylor Swift's former manager Rick Barker on there. We've had Shaheem Reed, the president of Conglomerate. We had DJ Damage from Hollywood Unlocked. We've had Julian Booth from Love and Hip Hop. We've had Orlando Warden, the SVP of A&R for Atlantic Records. We've had Deputy, the producer for Rihanna. He works with Beyonce and Alicia Keys. So we like, Tony has been using his relationships from working with Diddy to kind of like bring these people in to get, artists an opportunity to get their music put in front of them. And, we're just kind of like trying to be in the forefront of that. So, everything we're doing is kind of, because we're favoring the independent artists, the growth is about building that independent community. So everything is, we're very personal. It's artist to artist, and directly to artists, peer to peer.
So I see the allure for people who are actual musical artists for this platform, Tweetle, right? But
Mhm.
what about people like myself who have
Right.
no musical talent? Like, so is there a cost for like me to go on
No,
Tweetle?
no, 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 no. It's free. It's free for everybody. All right. So like from the music lovers perspective, the advantages is, well, the advantages are because I use the S on advantages, good grammar, I gotta throw that out there, good grammar. But the advantages are well, one, you get to test your ear for music in comparison to the rest of the world. Um, we're taking the voice of the people and the voice of the artist, and we're empowering them both. So it's the people's job to tell the world who's the next hot artist. So there's a thing called a voter score within the app, and it's in the app now. It's accessible now, and each score has a set of achievements you have to accomplish. Now these are like features that are going to roll out, later on down the line. I can't really get into too many details on that, but I can tell you what's out right now. But you have your voter score, and the way the voter score is determined is based on how you vote within the app, whether you're sharing, songs that you like, swiping our dope, or even listening to the songs after they go to your playlist. So when the app opens, you have your random discovery feed, and it's divided by genre, and you can pick the genre of music you want to listen to. And each genre, every time you log in, each genre you pick, it randomizes. So every time you log in or switch to another screen and come back, the discovery feed randomizes, because we want to keep that element of an artist getting exposed to somebody to happen constantly. So if we have 100 devices, and every time somebody is going to the discovery feed from a different feature or selection in the app, it's just random, 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 random. So as artists are putting in songs, it can just fall right into that, random wheel, and
Mm,
people can get exposed to it.
I feel like this platform is like perfect for like my sister. My sister is always like very, very privy on who's next. Like,
Mhm.
time my sister has recommended an artist that I haven't heard of, literally within 2 years, that person blows up. Like, she just has that ear.
Yeah. And see, that's the cool thing, is like she get to kind of put that to the test up against other people that do the same things, that feel the same way. Because some of the rewards that we're gonna have, we've been talking to like some like major brands that we're getting involved with, that we're gonna do some like challenges, stuff involving like, the NFL and the NBA, and like, it's gonna be, it's gonna be huge. And I'm excited about it because I've kind of
Are you falling in love with the process? Like, are you falling in love
I am.
with this
I
growth?
am, because Tony is a very, Tony is a very like stern individual, because he really pushes the idea of greatness being intentional. So it's hard for me to like slack. You know what I mean? So with him, he kind of pushes me to my limits, simply because he know that I can take it. You know what I mean? It's like he has like this very like, fatherly uncle type of, vibe when he's dealing with the team, because all of us are like young. You know what I mean? All of us are like his young voices, that are kind of giving him like how social media works, what we think will work and what we think wouldn't work. And I just kind of look at it. He kind of put me in a position to be the artist, the eyes of the artist, you know. And his favorite thing to ask me is, how do you think artists are going to feel about this? You know what I mean? Because I'm such an advocate for independent artists, and I'm such an advocate for artists, not being screwed over, and being treated fairly, and being paid their worth, and getting something out of, even if they're investing in themselves, like actually seeing results from it, and not feel like they're just giving, because there's so many artists out here that really are super talented, but they don't really have the know-how, and nobody's really trying to tell them without taking something from them in the process.
Yeah, I mean, we do live in America. We do live in a capitalist society. So even knowledge, like, as I would say, even knowledge, but it's actually especially knowledge is like comes at a cost. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
so people want to charge you for everything. Like, if there was a, like, I bet you one day someone's going to charge you how to properly tie your shoe, like a course on how to. There's going to be a how to tie your shoe webinar. It's going to be $1,000. For what?
For real.
Cut the
And all it is just like recycled information that people can go find on YouTube,
phone.
on like, if they just was willing to do the research. I mean, reddit.com has been like my best friend. You know what I mean? Like, I've learned so much stuff being on Reddit or YouTube, but Reddit, oh man, Reddit is where it's at. But yeah, that's yeah.
I say that, but I invested a whole lot of money in my education. Let's not even lie. All
Yeah,
right. So,
me too.
um, I posted yesterday on Instagram something
Mm,
where I was just like, what questions do you want me to ask BoDee tomorrow on the Instagram?
okay.
Got some really good questions, but my favorite one came from Artemis Mood, I think is the IG. Um,
Okay.
but basically the woman's name is Lexi. And her question was, how have artists been surviving in NOLA with venues shut down?
Well, the artists that I know, they have just simply become content creators. I feel like that setting the example thing. It's kind of like been resonating with the circle of artists that I run with. You know, my favorite conversation to have since the quarantine is, yo, you need to come up with some reoccurring content. You need to give people a reason to keep coming back. Whether it be every week or every other week or every month, you need to come up with something that's going to keep people coming back because everybody's sitting at home in front of their computer or in front of their cell phone. I mean, cell phones are like an extension to life these days. So and now they're making them to perform like cinema cameras. You know, you can get video quality to the level of creating movies, you know, these days. And there's ring lights and stuff. I have a ring light on right now. It's right here, you know, giving me this
You know,
nice little glow right here. You know what I mean? But
well,
um
the funny thing is like whenever we're about to take a picture, we're like, wait, hold up. Who has what phone? Right? We're gonna pick the phone with the best camera, and that's the phone that takes the pictures.
yep.
And
Everybody know that's the Android though.
iPhone shoot video quality in 4K right now. So like it has cinematic qualities to it. And if you really know how to use your iPhone, you can really freak a shot on your iPhone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can record things like an entire movie on there. You might need to amplify the sound, invest in some sound equipment. Nowadays, the camera isn't the thing. It's really sound and lighting. And you go outside on a good day and you got lighting.
Especially if you're in California.
No,
Man,
California is just amazing.
just the,
Um,
the sunlight and the way it reflects off of stuff. It's just amazing.
so I rewatched our interview from 2017.
Okay.
And we spoke about Kaepernick taking a knee. This was fresh-ish around.
Yeah, it was.
And since then, we've seen an increase in violence against Black bodies, as well
Mm,
as coverage on violence against Black bodies. Let's not say that there's been an increase in it because I don't know that there has been. It's just been trendy to talk about. As well as an increase in um, I guess you know awareness and revolting against said violence. So my question is specifically with regards to this year where we've seen marches and protests and riots. What are your thoughts on what's happening in the world as it relates to like Black lives?
um, well, it's so crazy because it's when I try to be very careful with addressing this topic because my perspective of how I view things in the sense that Black people are like superheroes anyway. And sometimes I feel like we discredit ourselves when we get caught in so many of the trendy ways of celebrating our Blackness.
Mhm.
Um, because these days it's like it's so hard to disagree with people without being turned into the bad guy, or with somebody saying, oh, we're going to cancel you because you don't see things exactly the way we see it, to the exact letter that we see it, in the exact hue and color, in the same shape and frame that we see it, so you're wrong and you hate us. And that's not the case. It's just that some of us live in a realistic world where we truly understand our history and what our people mean to society and what our people mean to the world. I mean, we have to be realistic with ourselves as far as how we are represented amongst ourselves. You feel what I'm saying? It's like we shouldn't be in positions to where, it's funny because I made like a social media post about, the different sides of the internet. Like I'm like, yo, I wonder if there's like a white side of the internet that has like, like their ghetto, like we have, you know what I mean? Like, and everybody's talking about the latest gossip. Yeah, like white Twitter, and they're like, oh my God, Tom Cruise and Sarah Jessica Parker's having an affair. Like, I wonder if they have like their
Yeah, it's called Twitter. It's the world the world without the Black lens is just Is the
right, because it's like it's certain words that are just subjected to black people because we allow it to be. It's certain stereotypes that are subjected to black people because we allow it to be. Because the questions I always ask is, well, who taught that? Who, for example, Lovecraft Country has been like this huge like show that's been on HBO, and everybody's been talking about it because it of course Jordan Peele's involved with it, and they use a lot of like real black history and kind of tie it into like this fictional supernatural kind of world. So it's like when you're watching it, there's hidden messages in it, you know what I mean? But you have to really like know your history to catch the hidden messages. And the thing of America and the fabric of America has always been built on oppression. It's always been built on the master slave complex. You know what I mean? So when law enforcement was even thought of, it was thought of to hunt slaves. That's what law enforcement was for. It was never to protect the public, and it was never to, keep the peace and help people. It evolved into that because leaders change and factions change and political parties change. So they started to do things that they deemed as what's acceptable, what's society acceptable. But we're still going to have our underlying prejudices when it comes to black people, or we're going to have our underlying thoughts and stereotypes when it comes to black people. And that's why when you hear the old saying, when your mom be like, come in before the lights come on, it's like, little did we know that was like an old school thing, because in some places after sundown, things would happen to black people. So these things that we would hear as kids coming up, and we used to think were so pointless, and we used to think wasn't a big deal, we used to just overlook it. You know what I mean? But now, it with technology and social media, and it's like it's everything that's been going on is kind of brought right to our doorstep.
But you know what, like the beauty of this year is like it shows the importance of communication, right? I think a major flaw in like in something that we have to fix culturally is how we communicate with each other. Whether it be interculture, because within our race there are many different cultures, but even in the household, like
Mm-hmm.
how amazing would it have been if like these things that have been passed down, such as like be inside before the lights cut on, right? That
Mm-hmm.
ideology, if the meaning behind that ideology was passed down to, how much more empowered would we be? How much more knowledgeable would we be? Like how much more serious would we take like what's happening in the world right now? I have a question. I didn't send this to you, but you said something, and I'm just really, really curious. You said we need to know our space in the world, something along those lines. We need to know like our space in the world. What did you mean by that?
Okay, I'm glad you asked that. It's like, for example, all right, one of the things I like highlighted, where they talk about let's say black girl magic.
Mhm.
This black girl magic has been like really like profitable for white America. I
Mhm.
mean, let's be real. A lot of the stuff that we thinking that are made for black people by black people are really white people in blackface behind the scenes. We just keeping it a buck. So when I say we understand our space, meaning I don't always agree when we let other cultures resell our culture back to us. Where we'll hashtag everything a black girl magic, but I'm like, baby, you were born with magic. You know what I mean? That melanin in your skin is magic. So you don't need somebody to give you a slogan for you to embrace that. Because see, here's the flip side of that coin. When we as black people reach a level of success, the first thing we do is address our haters. The first thing we do is address our haters and talk about how their negativity was forced upon us to try to shake us from believing we'll get to the level of success that we reached. So we'll hashtag it with a black girl magic, but it's like, no, this was already in you. So why are you accomplishing something and giving the satisfaction to your haters by letting them know you're on my mind in the moment of my success? What about the people that was supporting you beforehand, the people that was believing in you, that always told you you can do it because of your melanated skin, because of our greatness that we were already born into? It's like these slogans are great, but these slogans are engraved in us already, so we don't need somebody to sell it back to us. I see more t-shirts with that on there from different companies that are just like, you know what, I'm going to profit off it. Same thing with the Breonna Taylor thing. You know what I mean? It's like I'm seeing a lot of people that don't really, in the way they move, they don't really rock for the cause of the black folks. But it's trendy. It's trendy to say arrest the killers of Breonna Taylor while you're plugging your brand that you're sponsored by, or while you're in your video flashing your jewelry or smacking girls on the butt, you say arrest the killers of Breonna Taylor because it sounds cool. It's like a slogan. And I sit back and I get a little frustrated because I'm like, why are y'all letting these people resell our culture back to us? What we need to do is like step into that and take control of it. It's about owning our own culture and stop letting people profit off of our culture.
But that's why what you're doing is really so important, like positioning yourself as, as part of media entities, building your own media entity, because ownership is really, really important. Like ownership of businesses, ownership of land, ownership of properties. Like we are the majority. We are not the minority. We are actually the majority. And we need to take up as much space paper as we physically do.
Right.
All right. I need something from you.
What's up?
I want to hear what some of like what you're working on, like in case anyone who's listening hasn't heard like your music. I know. But can you give me like maybe like
Yeah.
on topic though, on topic. Let's keep it on.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna keep it on topic. All right. Don't let nobody tell you a failure as long as you got a conscience. Intelligence speaks in volumes when actions follow behind them. The narrative is imperative to listen. The blind leading the blind. We in a world without a vision. Culture appropriation, the mission to make a sale, and judging by our consumption, imagine they doing well. We fit into the hype of poor decisions and living outside our means and spending electric bills on some jeans. Women rocking bundles and lashes to feel attractive, doing the most to seek the attention from some aspiring rapper who sip from double cups and rock a bottle for excitement versus picking a brother who's enlightened. Third eye open, he got ambitions of blowing up. Though it's a challenge to take advantage of growing up. He's just a savage amongst the masses, they telling us. How long do we have to accept this passions they selling us? The court system's a bully, teenagers shooting up schools. The media's a liar, celebrities are the tools. Surrounded by the deniers, I'm here to give you the truth. This news is off the wire, I'm trying to show you the proof. All right, that's that's enough. That's enough. That's enough.
So as projects, what musical projects do you have out right now? What's your most recent project that
My most recent is Sugar Moon Phase. It actually came out a little bit last year. I was gonna come out with something earlier this year, but of course when COVID happened, it was just kind of like so that's why I did the My Flow Monday. And fortunately enough, through the My Flow Monday series, I've been actually releasing, new songs within, the series that are not up on the streaming services, but you can get them on YouTube. And that was another one of those, how can I keep them coming back things? Because I know if this is the only place you can get the music, then you got to come to my YouTube. You know what I mean? You got to come watch the videos, which means that you'll get to see everything I'm dropping every week.
All right. And what did you tune into the debates last night?
I did. I did not sit through the whole thing because it looked like two kindergartners in the food fight. Um
Really?
but it did, like, because it just got to the point where, when Trump started talking about the man's son and I was like, Lord, I said, this is the most unprofessional political. I mean, Biden was trying to hang in there and trying to stick to the facts, but it's man, man. It's like watching Nickelodeon, like for real. It's like
This is the highest position. They are competing for the highest like position of power
in the world.
in our country and in the world. Like this is And this is what it looks like.
Yes.
This
Yes.
is what it looks like.
It looked like Lunchables and Jello pudding just thrown everywhere. It was just, and it's so crazy because it's like, I feel like, see, this is the crazy thing about Trump. And see, I told you this before when we talked in 2017. I told you that this man is, by the time it's all said and done, this man is accidentally going to make America great when it's all said and done. Because he is really showing like the true fabric of what America is built on. Like how the dynamics are truly like polarizing like that, to where you can have literally a cartoon character in the highest office in the world, and America is just cool with that. And then he can do certain things that seems cool. And then when you be like, okay, that was cool, we can give you a point for that. People are so caught up in the personal aspect of it that they're gonna hate you for even just trying to say, you know what? Okay, let's give a point. Doesn't mean that I'm necessarily supporting, but let's just say, you know what? All right, okay, you did do something okay. You know what I mean? It's like, because I mean, even when the stimulus checks happen, I mean, I don't care what anybody say. I don't care how much money you had. Anybody that got those checks were like grateful, like, yo, you know what? I mean, hey, I might not support dude, but hey, he signed his name on his check and he wanted to make sure he knew that, or I knew that he was the president that gave it to me.
Yeah,
And you know,
it's really just that was really just a move for this very moment. For like
right, right. But
this
to some people
election.
that don't follow politics, or for some people that don't really get emotionally invested in politics, you know, they'll sit back and say, well, shit, I ain't never had a check that said Obama name on it. So you know what I'm saying? And for us that are like, you know, into following politics and into wanting to see change, and you know, we're like looking at them like, say what? And
Yo,
then you have like the internet warriors that's like, oh my God. So you mean to tell me you support Donald Trump? While the whole time they got their check, you know, they're taking their check to, you know, go get some snow crabs and all that good stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's one of those kind of things where everything is situational. Everything is situational. So it's like when you are aware of your space, rich people. He caters to rich people. It's like a battle of rich and poor right now. You know, it's like race is at the forefront because race stirs up the most emotions. But in the shadows, it's a money game.
racial issues are important issues, but racial issues are also often used to distract us from like the economic issues,
Right.
health issues, like other things that we need to be talking about too. And don't get me wrong, like we do need to be talking about how Black bodies need to be treated more fairly. Um, but we also need to be talking about how like there's an increase in like income disparity in this country. We also need to talk about how like, you know, our nutrition, our food is terrible.
Right.
We need better
Right.
food. um
Right.
you know, with talking about COVID, like, you know, it's like, oh, well, you know, I gave you guys checks, but oh, you should have shut this country down a long time ago. Like, no one comes in, no one leaves. If no one came in and no one left, guess what we would have been able to do still? We would have been able to make money. We put ourselves in a major disadvantage by like, we put
Because
ourselves in
that's like elite money. See, we make money like, you know, $100,000, a couple $1 million a year. That's chump change. These people are going through trillions of dollars. I mean, I'm talking about they literally can sit back and say, you know what, we need $3 trillion for the economy. Hit the print button, boom, and then it's like like we don't have that luxury. You know what I'm saying? Like we literally have to
I mean, we could
own.
have that luxury, but that's called counterfeiting.
I mean, yeah, of course. But
Like the
they literally print
government
monopoly
can
money
literally print money that they don't have and it's legal. But the second I need to pay rent, it's a problem.
because because they can do that because it's backed by the blood, sweat, and tears of you and me and all of our fellow Americans. As long as we are alive and breathing, we are a dollar sign, you
They
know, and that's why it's so easy to just give us money because they know they gonna go spend it. They gonna go spend it. They gonna go spend it. They gonna go spend it.
That's why this country broke. That like
Yep.
this country, the leaders of our country needs to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
They listen. Trump pays $700 in taxes. He must have read that book upside down, left and right, in and out.
No,
Cause
he just comes from wealth and he comes from privilege and he has years of access to knowledge and information that people who don't come from wealth and privilege have to like learn. They have to and spend a lifetime of unconditioning themselves. Like we grow up a certain way and we're conditioned a certain way, so sometimes you have to unlearn certain things so that you can learn new things.
right.
In our last interview, you said that you would be the difference you want to see in the world by using art and embracing your stories.
Right.
And I really like that, and I just wanted to follow up with you on that. How has this answer changed? And if not, which I don't think it has, how have you progressed in that?
And I will say the beauty of storytelling is relation. People, it just things being relative. So that's gonna always be part of the fabric of what makes me me, is that everything has to be authentic. It's like I'm probably gonna, like, my next song I write about this, I'm probably gonna mention, like, sitting down with Lynette, discussing the latest, you know what I'm saying, discussing the latest issue. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's gonna be something along those lines or something, because when people listen to it, I just want them to have like that feeling of like conversation, that it just feels so authentic. Like, they can close their eyes and they can picture the scenery happening. You know what I mean? So the storytelling is, that's why I like people like Scarface and Biggie and Pac and Slick Rick, because the storytelling is always the best part of music, because it's relative. People can
But
connect to it.
can we take a moment for Slick Rick, Uncle Richie?
Oh yeah, he's probably one of the best to ever do
Here
it.
we go.
Yeah.
You literally can see every single scene. You know who else does that very well is Nas.
Yes.
I
He
love
did it. He did it in reverse.
so crazy because every time people are like, "What's your favorite Nas song?" and I say, "Rewind," they're like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yo, this dude really told an entire story vividly backwards." Backwards. Like you can't tell me that is crazy. It's genius. And I haven't seen
Sentences were backwards and the story was
go
backwards.
he there. Like what? No, but seriously, like phenomenal. And I haven't seen anyone else try it. I haven't seen anyone else try it. So say what you will and say what you want. Until someone can give me another rewind and do it as well or better, zip.
I gotta do it now. That sounds like a challenge. I
Challenge.
gotta do it. I gotta do it. I
No,
gotta do it now.
yeah. Story. I think that's my favorite part of hip hop, actually. Um, I mean, I can get lost in a beat, but then sometimes you ever get lost in a beat and then listen to the lyrics and think to yourself, yo, this is trash. But
Or you hear a beat and the beat is like not all that good, but the lyrics are like cold. You like,
yeah,
yo,
like or like you get lost in like what someone's saying and you're like, why didn't this song blow up? And then you listen to the beat and you're like, oh, the beat.
that's why.
But like storytelling is really my favorite part of hip hop. Like the way people
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
images and like if you can get me to like see it, oh
Like I have a song that I wrote. I wrote it a while back. I don't know if it's gonna be on the next project or not. I'm still trying to come up with production for it because I want the production to be very emotional. But it's actually written from the perspective. It's about abortion, but
hmm.
it's actually written from the perspective of the unborn child.
Oh, I like this.
So, it's kind of like the child is like begging and pleading for their life. But, this child was conceived in the worst form ever. Like the mother was raped. So, she like, I want to have this abortion, but the child, I wrote it from the perspective of the child. Like where I'm saying, what if I'm the next LeBron James? What if I'm the next Thomas Edison, you don't know. I understand I was conceived under these messed up conditions, but please let me live. Let me be special. You just never know. You know what I mean? But I mean, it's pretty dope, but I wrote it from a perspective as if I was the child. You know what I mean? So because my mom went through that. I mean, she wasn't raped, but she went through, a very like emotional time when she got pregnant with me, and she did tell me like abortion was an option. You know what I mean? She was glad she didn't, but she was like it was on the table. So, I when she told me that, the day she told me that, I wrote the song like, you know, from that perspective, like what if she would have done that? You know what I mean? Or what if I can hear her or feel her thinking that? You know what I mean?
I think that the interesting thing about pregnancies, right, is that if the most pregnancies aren't planned, but if the situation, if the relationship set up, if the situation, the circumstances of the pregnancy aren't optimum, it's almost always a conversation.
Right.
It's almost always a conversation. I have met some pretty devout Christians, right? Devout
Mhm.
Christians who will have had abortions. And it's just really interesting. It's a really interesting conversation when people have it. Um, like what brings someone to that place, what helps makes them gets them into the place where they make that decision. But like personally, I always think that I can never tell another person like what they can or cannot do,
Right.
because parenting is a major responsibility.
Facts. I mean, I
Parent,
don't have any kids, but I'm just saying facts.
parenting is a major responsibility, and a lot of people pass down their trauma to their child. A lot of people take out their circumstances on their child unintentionally.
Mhm.
So I think it's like when someone decides to be a parent, that needs to be an active choice. Um, and they need to like step up to the plate. Uh,
Right.
so but we have 3 minutes left, and I really want to ask you my favorite question to ask on this show,
Okay.
and that is what
Okay.
I mean, I ask it every week with a twist, but what is your favorite thing about being a Southern Black man in America?
Um, being tall, um, being kind of like thick and buff, you know what I mean? Now I know how to cook. I know how
Hey,
to I know how to cut grass.
hey,
I know how to change a tire. I mean, that's all the dope stuff about being a Southern Black man that I enjoy. I
hold on.
mean, having this beard and
I'm gonna link you with Shantae Dunbar, and she's gonna find you somebody because he just said he can cook, he can cook, and he can change a tire. And if woman happy just now, I don't know what. She's the she gonna find somebody for you. Sorry, I don't mean to cut into your answer. Okay.
Oh
So
no, you good. That was it.
what is that's it. That's what can you cook? What do you cook?
I mean everything. Like I mean, my favorite is Caribbean food. So like, if we got 5-6 hours to spare, I can make a mean oxtails. Um, I mean, I love making seafood. Um, I mean, I went to culinary school, so I mean, I like to cook everything.
What? How didn't I know this about you?
Yeah, I do it all.
Hey,
I
you
do it all. I do laundry, fold clothes,
fine, BoDee.
wash dishes. For real. I mean, listen, my dad just taught me to just be like, he
Self-sufficient.
like, man, you gotta be self-sufficient, brother. He's like, you gotta be
Both your parents.
self-sufficient. Huh?
You grew up with both your parents.
Yes.
That's really really good. That explains a lot. You're very even tempered.
Yeah.
That's
I was crazy. I was crazy before I got to live with my dad. I ain't gonna even lie. I was. Before I got to live with my dad, I was crazy. I was crazy as hell.
structure is important in a man's life.
Yeah. When I got to live with my dad, I kind of woo sided out. You know what I mean? Because listen, my mom military, so I was like, whew, I was crazy. So yeah.
We're gonna have to delve into your childhood in the next interview. Not yet.
I'm down. I'm down. I'm down.
Okay. So, BoDee, we have run out of time. I want to thank you so much for
Yeah, yeah.
joining me on the Elouise show.
Yeah, yeah.
I really like, everything we spoke about, the music industry, what it takes to make it happen, the importance of keeping it real,
Yep.
um, your music and the importance of Black issues and Black lives.
Yep, yep.
Thank you so much.
Always. You're welcome.
Have a beautiful, beautiful evening.
You too. Thank you. Thank you.